Welcome back to the channel Big Houses Small Talk. My name is Sherwin and this is Jason with me. Today we're going to talk about this upcoming EC at Tengah named OTTO Place. So Jason is the expert for EC and I'm a fanboy of EC. So we're going to deep dive into the topic. And of course, first thing you must know, right, when it comes to EC or OTTO Place is where is it located at and why are we so excited over it?
So OTTO Place is going to be located in the newest township of Singapore, Tengah Township, right? So in Tengah Township, there's actually going to be slated 30,000 public homes and 12,000 private homes, total 42,000 in 5 districts. And Tengah happens to be, OTTO Place happens to be located in the Plantation District of Tengah.
From this map itself, it looks like it's on the edge of Tengah.
That's right. So being on the edge of Tengah, it's also well positioned because we are also then the closest to, you can see in the map, Jurong West, Jurong Lake District, Jurong East, and in future also the Jurong Innovation District. So Jurong Lake District, of course, most significantly would be our upcoming second CBD, slated
over here lah.
Yes.
The distance to that, if you drive, is not that far, right? Maybe like 10 minutes?
Probably 5 to 10 minutes.
5 to 10 minutes, okay. So, based on my own understanding and research in the past, right, I've always been a fan of New Township. Tengah itself is part of a bigger transformation of the West, where the government has been already injecting a lot of money in that area itself, not only creating homes, because homes are, I feel, secondary. They are just there to support the businesses, because the job itself created for just JID and JLD alone, they are targeting to be around 200,000, and this is not including the Tuas port.
Yeah.
So all these three will be a very important sector when it comes to developing Singapore to keep Singapore competitive for the next 10 to 20 years.
That's right.
Yeah. So there's a need for new township in the area, because the last time we had a new township is a place called Pongo 20 years ago, and
if you recall, the other new township that's coming up also will be Lentor.
Oh, okay, Lentor. But Lentor is
now more private focus.
Yeah, Lentor has more
much smaller as well. It's like
much
an extension of.
But the number of homes is not as extensive as.
Exactly. In fact, the number of homes here is even bigger than the Pongo Township.
Oh, okay. Also, this is a bigger development than Pongo.
Yes.
Okay. And we all know, and we'll show you the data later, why a new township is exciting, not because of its amenities, but because of the opportunity for homeowners there as well, especially if you are one of the first few that enter in the early phases. But of course, it comes with its inconvenience, because you see on Straits Times or whatsoever, the first few owners that move to Tengah, there are bound to be complaints because it's not fully developed. But now we are in the
I would say we already passed the very initial phase. So there are already about 20,000+ public homes that has been sold, and some of them have already collected keys and moved in. So by the time this new EC is ready, OTTO Place, it's going to be slated for around 2028. So by that time, I would say Tengah will be even more established.
Okay, so some basic facts about Tengah first. Just now we talked about a wider view from a more macro view. Now we go a bit micro. Where OTTO Place is situated is just at this corner. Then maybe Jason, you can share with us what can we be looking out for?
So I think first and foremost, the most important thing would be accessibility and connectivity. So you can see from OTTO Place, it is actually within very good walking distance to 2 MRT stations, namely your Tengah Park MRT station, as well as the Bukit Batok West MRT station. So depending on where you intend to go, if let's say you intend to go to Jurong East, you can actually head over to Bukit Batok West, and then it's just 2 stations away from the Jurong East interchange, where it connects you to the green line as well as the red line. Then if let's say you are doing your day-to-day amenities, and then you want to take the train station, you can head over to Tengah Park. Because there's the HDB cluster you can see from the map shown here, where you can find your basic bare necessities.
These two.
Yes, like your supermarket, your eating house, even preschools and other shops and childcare center. They're all located at the HDB area. So if let's say it's raining, because of course there will be some parts that's not sheltered if you walk from Bukit Batok West, and then you need to cross the road. So if you don't want to cross the road, it's safer for your kids, you can actually alight at Tengah Park MRT station, and there is fully sheltered under the HDB blocks, walkway all the way.
So you mean the shelter is all the way HDB, all the way until OTTO Place?
That's right.
So even crossing the road?
Yeah, you go under the HDB blocks. You can actually get to the OTTO Place side gate, fully sheltered.
Okay, but it seems to me, just from what I see from the map, Bukit Batok West like nearer.
Yeah.
Just that you have to cross the road lah.
Yeah. But both are near enough. Both are near
within 5 minutes walking distance.
Within 5 minutes walking distance. Then of course the other thing here would be the school. So we are located, if you can see from the map again, very close to Princess Elizabeth.
Okay.
Yeah, we will have another slide that talks about the primary school. So yes.
Okay, but it is within 1 km.
Yes, definitely within 1 km you can walk there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So fun fact, Princess E is one of the most oversubscribed primary school in 2024. I don't know whether it's the most, but I think it's the one of the most lah.
Yes.
Okay. So all the amenities are there, and if we were to deep dive even more, right, I'll just zoom in here for you to have a look. This is Tengah in the past. So for those that don't know the color coding for master plan, right, yellow side is just a reserve site for future developments, and at that point of time, I think this was a master plan for 2010. Our government actually didn't have much planning for this area, but we fast forward around 15 years later, this is the current Tengah. So you see from yellow color, it starts to have more residential and commercial, and all these things where you have like Caterpillar one, right? All these are already built housing. And those that are not yet developed or not yet sold are all these that have plot ratio but don't have the Caterpillar thing lah. Okay? Which is also good for you, means there's more room for development.
That's right.
And this is what first mover advantage really mean lah. Okay?
Yeah. So it also means that you would have a constant supply of future HDB upgraders who perhaps need a place very urgently, they can't afford to wait, then they may want to move into the ECs in the vicinity if let's say their children are starting around the area.
Actually, I think the timeline coincides very well because you see the first HDB that was launched, right, or built, right, is around 2018, right? So 5 years later, or let's say 10 years later, they can upgrade, right, 2028. And most of by the time you have already collected your keys to your EC already, and when you MOP, you'll be the first few to sell and set the benchmark price in the area lah. Okay, so some facts about OTTO Place. Okay.
So some facts about OTTO Place. OTTO Place is a relatively good sized development with 600 units, all right, and then car parking is about 70%. And so about 428 lots. There's also EV lots ready. And the estimated TOP, if you can see from here, developers are saying that it will be Q1 2028. So it's actually pretty soon. We are already mid-2025. So actually really less than 3 years, you are going to collect keys to this place. Then in terms of the maintenance charges, most of the units is 390 regardless of whether you are the 3-bedder unit type or the small 4-bedder unit type, and only the larger 4-bedder unit type is at 455, which is still pretty okay for today's terms.
Considering the site plan, which we will show you later on, all the facilities of the EC.
Extensive facilities that the developers have built. So fun fact also about OTTO Place is that because it's positioned beside Novo Place and the developers are the same developers, they are Hoi Hub Sunway. So they have actually taken a lot of learning points from Novo Place to actually make OTTO Place even better and build even more favorite unit types by the from the experience of.
So they took the
Novo
feedback
Place.
from the ground. But
exactly.
Novo Place did very well. They are almost sold out already, except for a few units.
Yes.
The 4 bedroom, they are like snap up right very quickly.
Yeah. Especially the entry level 4 bedder, because I think if you can see later on, we'll also talk about some of the results, right? Generally, the 4 bedders have a higher propensity to have this very good profitability.
I think it's because of the genuine demand.
Yes, genuine demand for families, and also I think realistically it's the price gap as well. You know, how do you compare a EC 4 bedder price versus like a new launch or a private condo 4
Or even a resale, right?
Right.
Okay, just to let you guys in, the 4 bedroom, from what we have heard, entry level for 4 bedroom in OTTO Place is
It's only 1.69.
It's only 1.69 million. Where to find? Like really, 哪里找? Okay. Anyway, let's move on. Just now we were talking about schools,
Yes.
and we all know there have been so much research on condos that are profitable. Don't even talk about condo. Anywhere HDB or whatever, right? Because Singaporeans, they want the best for their kids, right?
Yes.
Anywhere which is 1 km to a good school, right? It will ensure profitability and ease of exit because the demand is always there, right?
Yeah, I think very importantly, it ensures the ease of exit. You will always have the next family wanting to, look at areas that are close to the school for their kids. So in this case, we actually have OTTO Place being within 1 km from 5 primary schools. You can see from the map here. Bukit View Primary and Pioneer Primary, they will be the new campus, so it'll be even better. You have new facilities for your kids. And then the existing schools now that's within 1 km, you have Princess Elizabeth Primary, the most popular one, and then Jurong Primary and Yuhua Primary, they are also within 1 km.
Actually, okay, I'm not a very political person, but I'll say the planning is very good, right? Because they anticipate a new township going in.
Yes.
That's why, like you mentioned, they relocated or have 2 new campuses of primary school just to take care of the
There's one more
kids around the area.
that you are forgetting. That one is the ACS Primary. So ACS Primary moving over in 2030. Unfortunately, of course, or rather, it's within 1 to 2 km. So let's say if your kid is already, has already gotten a place in ACS Primary, then of course,
it will be good.
It will be good lah.
Yeah.
It will still be nearby to ACS Primary.
But this also highlights, right, how much our government value the development of the area.
Yes.
Because not just residential, the infrastructure is there, MRT, the schools are there, accessibility and all your amenities could be there and whatsoever. So you can guarantee if you move into this area or OTTO Place, right, you are well covered and you can live there for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. And also, just to take note, because for OTTO Place, it's going to be 3 bedders and 4 bedders only. So it's not the typical condo where you have even the 1, 2 bedders.
I think the condo, they have like the small 1 bedder or 2 EC lah. They have the small 1 bedroom or 2 bedroom.
So
acres. In residences, do they have?
In residences, I think.
I have to double check because I've met a few clients before. I know acres they have, and ins they have also. Not saying that it's not good, but it doesn't fit the criteria of like building a family and stuff like this lah. Okay, but that's beside the point. And let's move on. So these are the estimated supply of unit in Tengah. They want to build around 12,000 private houses, right?
Exactly. So right now, right, Copen Grand, of course, is already fully sold, TOP already.
No more.
Right? Then Novo Place, as what Sherwin mentioned, there's only very, very few units left. And then, of course,
Less than
upcoming.
10 ba?
Yes, less than 10. It's just a handful. And then upcoming is OTTO Place with 600 units. So actually, if you look at the first 3, of course, Tengah Gardens Avenue is also coming up. That one will be a private development by Guoco, and it's going to be integrated. So it's also not going to be priced cheap lah. And then for OTTO Place, we are really only the third, and then it's only 1,000 plus units in. So well positioned for the upcoming 12,000 homes in terms of pricing because, buying in at the first 1,000 plus private homes versus somebody who's going to buy in later on at the later stage at the 11,000 private homes. You can imagine there's going to be a good price gap between the two.
Okay, so sidetrack. If you want to buy Novo Place, look for us as well.
Yes,
We're
yes.
also selling Novo Place. Yeah, but just a
To
few
grab
units.
the last handful of units, yeah.
Okay, I foresee, right, once OTTO Place launch, right, people that OTTO Place will sell out in a very short period of time. Maybe
Yes.
even on the first day to all the first timer. And the spillover effect is people now put OTTO Place choose Novo Place. Because the attributes OTTO Place have, actually Novo Place also have. The challenges for the remaining units are because they are the lower floor units or the facing are not as well. So a lot of people are on the fence, okay, since OTTO Place is so near already, I don't
right.
buy first, I wait for OTTO Place first.
Yeah.
So there's that mindset as well.
Yeah, but even as we speak, Novo Place is still moving.
Yeah, it's still moving so that there can be less than a handful of units.
Yes.
So if you want to view either of the show flat, do let us know. We can slot you in. Okay, and these are the past GLS, ECGLS sites sold. And what are the upcoming one? So Plantation A, Plantation Close Parcel A is Novo Place. Left less than 10 units or even lesser than that. This is the highlight of 2025 start of the year.
That's right.
It's already fully sold.
Yes.
So 你要看都没有得看. It's out. And currently where we are at till the end of the year, right?
Yes, will be Plantation Close
Will-
Parcel B. That will be OTTO Place, Jalan Loyang Besar, as well as Tampines Street 95. These two are slated to launch only next year.
Okay.
Nevertheless, I mean, if you talk about price point as well, you can see that the two Plantation Close plots are actually more lower price as compared to the East Side EC projects. And if we go by the reference to the developers, since they are the same developers for Novo Place, they have also highlighted to us that you can kind of take Novo Place pricing as a guide, you know, and then the recent Orel of Tampines pricing as a guide point as well. So we speculate that it's going to be a price point between Novo Place and Orel, still cheaper than Orel.
So I would say averagely maybe 1,007 lah.
Yeah, between 1,007 to 1,008 lah. Then if you look at Jalan Loyang Besar and Tampines Street 95, they are already at a higher tendered PSF price, PPR PSF. So we foresee also the
I
East Side
haven't
projects.
I haven't done my research, but Jalan Loyang Besar, the only unique selling point is you can go to Tua Pei Kong every day to pray.
Yeah.
Pray for good luck and good health.
And then Tampines Street 95, if you see Orel of Tampines price, and then plus the fact that it's going to be only launched next year, 1 year later from Orel at Tampines.
I believe it will be 1,008 and above.
Yeah, 1,008 and above. Because
Minimally.
Orel itself is already about 1,008 plus as well.
Okay, so what you deem affordable this year will be out of reach next year. Okay, so we say it's not enough. Must be the newspaper article say. EC has so much article writing about their launch, how good they are, how much they sell for, how much they profit and everything. So if you look at the articles over here, 57% sales on launch day, 88.1% launch unit step up in second balloting.
Yeah.
So this 57% is
Yeah, so this 57% is not because Novo Place is not popular enough. It's actually because there is this requirement for the developers to only lock in up to a 30% max for the second time buyers for EC. You know, so again, EC is something that's very unique. It's not everybody who wants to buy can buy. You need to be eligible to buy it. So because there are actually a lot of second timers who want to buy Novo Place, but the 30% quota has already been hit. So that's why we see Novo Place achieving 57%, which is already a very, very good percentage. And then the moment 1 month later when it's free for all, then Novo Place will just carry on being snapped up by all the second timers.
put things into
1 month
perspective.
later.
There's this freehold new launch recently launched, I think Arena East. They sold only like
10 units.
10 units.
Out of 109.
Yeah, 109. And so you can imagine the popularity lah.
And then side note, since you brought up Ariana East, the average PSF for that was 3,000.
3,000.
Yes, compared to, let's say, if you are eligible and you were to go for something like an EC like OTTO Place, which is only almost half the price.
So I feel this policy itself, it's really puts Singaporean first lah, and it gives people a fair chance now, since you have already utilize your chance, be it for BTO or a first EC, you only stand a lesser chance than those who have not benefited from it before. Because our government also know it's like buying BTO lor. If you buy in a good location, 包赚钱的. If you buy EC, also 包赚钱的. But you must give people that haven't earned that amount of money first a chance to earn it.
Yeah, the first timers, that's right.
So same thing, if you haven't BTO, never EC before, and your income is below 16,000, look for us lah. Okay, and just now we were talking about Novo Place, and now we are talking about Oreo of Tampines. Okay?
Yes. So likewise, Oreo of Tampines, the only other EC that was launched this year is Oreo of Tampines, and you can see on first day launch, they already sold 90%. So I think partly also because there's a lot of confidence, Tampines being a matured and popular estate, and plus it's going to be next to Parktown. So from the selling price of Parktown and the selling price of Oreo, I think buyers can also see that there's a big price gap between the two developments, hence making Oreo Tampines very, very, very popular. So 90% sold on the first weekend, and then the moment it opened up for the second timers to free for all 1 month later, then the remaining units are cleared within the first hour of booking.
So they say that the East average price is around 1766 PSF, but we can see the highest PSF for Oreo at Tampines almost went to 1880. So with quite a number of transactions crossing the 1800 PSF mark lah. Okay. And the other thing it's which the media talk about a lot, right? It's not just the volume of transaction, how fast it is being sold. It's also on how much EC earn.
Yeah.
Right. So to put things into perspective or for context, HDB sell for a million will hit headline. Wow, how many HDB sell for a million? But for EC itself, it's not about selling a million. It's about making $1 million. It's a huge difference. Yeah.
So of course, it's not to say that EC can make this kind of profits. Private also can make this kind of profit. Private condos, but for the private condos, I think to make this kind of profit, you also need to inject a lot more capital because you are looking at the higher quantum units. There are your 4-beders and even sometimes your 5-beders. So if we look at the EC, when you enter at below $2 million, at a 1 point something million range, I think this is still pretty comfortable for a lot of HDB upgraders, especially when they reap the profits from the BTO, So recently in the news, we all know there's this £100 and they actually made a very, very substantial profit, and the £100 unit that sold for 3.05 million was also the first time an EC was crossing this 2000 PSF mark. And then you can see from Straits Times article also that the number of ECs that are resold for the $1 million profit is increasing, just like how your $1 million HDB flats are also increasing in numbers year after year.
Yeah, so we brought up OTTO Place, right? Because we have studied a lot on we dive deep into the data, and we try to find points, right, as to why certain all EC make money, but there are certain EC that profits or stand out more than the rest of EC. £100 being one of them, and the other one which we saw we saw 3 across the board, right? They are quite consistent in they have a lot of $1 million profit from the owner itself, and £100 being one of them. The reason is because it's within 1 km to Rosyth.
That's right.
Which is one of the top primary school in Singapore, and we all know how much Singaporeans love to be in a prestigious school. And secondly is Trillion, which is within walking distance to MRT station, and I think the interchange as well. And you can see from all the profits over here lah. And lastly would be Privé, which is the first EC in a new township, which is at Punggol. And all the profits they have all the owners crossing above $1 million with as high as $1.7 million in profit. And for OTTO Place itself, why we feel it's a not to be missed opportunity, right? It's because of all the points which we just explained earlier on, which is this is the only condo, right, that has these 3 elements. First is within walking distance
To
to
Princess Elizabeth
or
Primary.
1 km. Okay, secondly, is
Walking distance, not just 1 km,
Yeah.
it's really within walking distance.
so you don't need to fetch your kids. They are old enough to walk to the school themselves. And the other thing is also within walking distance to not one but 2 MRT stations.
Yeah.
So connectivity is very important. And lastly, it's it being in the new township and being the first mover in the area. If we analyze Punggol Township and Prive being the first EC, right, it actually TOP in 2013. And for Piermont Grand, that is the last piece of EC that was sold 10 years later, right? Jason actually did up the graph. And you can see from the numbers over here. Maybe Jason can explain a bit.
Yeah, so you can see that for Privé, right, the average PSF when they were first launched and sold in Jan 2011 was about 691 PSF. But you see when Piermont Grand launched much later, in July 2019, the average price has gone up to 1,100. So it really goes to show, as the township transforms into a more matured one with all the facilities, then you also see the price move accordingly. So you can see in this case, it is, I would say,
Prive is around 1,007,
yeah,
transacted around 1,007.
yeah.
So if you are in the same position, if you are in OTTO Place being the third EC launch, the gap for you to fill or the exit along the way, because there's just so many other plots of land that will be sold in the future, and definitely it will not go below 700 PSF.
Yeah.
If government were to sell the next plot of land at 500 PSF, I think all the owners there will jump. But that's not the case, because land cost, construction cost, whatever cost, everything is increasing. So OTTO Place is the only one, right, that has this holy trinity, which we identify in all the top performing ECs. Okay? Do not miss your chance. And of course, one thing that really supports profitability as well, because just now we go into specific, right? What are the top performing? What are the attributes to that? But in general, all EC make money. In the recent years, I think 10, 20 years, you will not see non-profitable EC transaction after MOP. Maybe you'll see one or two before MOP, but it is usually a case where death, divorce, bankruptcy, and stuff like this. But once it reaches MOP, right, the ball game changes. And this is because of a government restriction. And this restriction itself, in loan, right, ensure that all the owners 100% make money.
Yeah. So the difference is that when you purchase an EC, you are actually being assessed via this method called the mortgage servicing ratio, the MSR, where you are only allowed to use up to 30% of your income to calculate the loan that you can take from the bank. So, and then on top of that, the EC, when you buy, the government also imposes a cap of 16,000 income. So therefore, because of this 16,000 income ceiling, plus the fact that you can only use 30% MSR, we work out the numbers, and typically the max loan that one can take will be in the region of 1 million, assuming you purely only use income. Of course, there are other means to push up the loan quantum as well through, pledging and unpledging, but that's a separate topic altogether. Then later on, when we move 5 years later, after you have obtained MOP, you have already fulfilled the MOP criteria and you sell the property, the next buyer who buys the resale EC from you, they are no longer controlled by this HDB regime where the income assessment would be based on still the MSR. Instead, now we are looking at TDSR, and TDSR being 55% of your income level, which means that you can now actually take a higher loan to purchase this resale EC. So with the ability to take a higher loan to purchase the resale EC, suddenly purchasing a resale EC seems a lot easier than, let's say, purchasing a brand new EC today. Because I think a lot of the buyers for the brand new ECs, their hurdle sometimes is the upfront cash that you need to have in order to buy, because right now there's this gap, right? Where let's say the max loan is only about 1 million, but typically your ECs now are poised between maybe 1.4 to 1.8.
If you buy the entry level 4 bedroom,
Yeah.
let's say 1.7 now, you need 700,000 cash at CPF.
That's right. That's
and on
right.
top of that, you still have to pay stamp duty. So
That's right.
you have to fork out maybe around 800,000.
Yeah, that's right. So with this, that's why if let's say you have the means, have the funds to actually come up to be eligible to buy the EC, then subsequently the person who buys over the resale EC from you, they will be able to offer you a higher price simply because they can also take a higher loan.
I think it's also because it's easier for them to buy, right, with less restriction. So if you look at this, 16,000 max you can buy is maybe only 1.5 million property, assuming lah. But if you were to compare, right, with the same income of 30,000, if it's TDSR, right, I can buy up to $1.8 million, but pay a lesser down payment. So that opens up more demand for people, especially those upgraders that do not have that much cash or CPF saving. So when they upgrade, they cannot buy from the new one. The only way they can buy is to buy from the resale, because surprisingly at a higher price tag, it is easier for me to purchase as compared to a lower price tag. So the lower income people, sorry, that's the wrong word, cannot say lower income. The income that is lower, right, can afford to buy a higher quantum as compared to a new launch EC. So for new launch, there's really a very strict set of criteria, right?
Exactly.
Which if you really qualify, right, look into EC first before you look at other new launch condo. Not saying you can just look at OTTO Place, even the upcoming one.
Yeah.
But EC really has a lot of opportunity for you to capitalize. Only downside is the location might not be as good because there's a lot of EC like in the Yishun area, but they still make money lah. Then which brings me back to my current point. This EC is in a very good location.
Yes.
Why are you missing out?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Anyway, sidetrack a bit. If your income slightly exceeds 16,000,
Yeah, do talk to us,
Yeah, talk
and
to
then
us.
we can, let's say, understand your situation, and there may be avenues to appeal. And then also on this same note, if let's say you are very, very close to your MOP period, and again, you have legitimate reasons, speak with us, because there may be some avenues for us
we
to
can help you
with
to,
the
we can
appeal
guide
as
you
well.
along the way and see.
Yeah, it's not it's a criteria, but it's not a criteria set in stone. HDB is also quite
not die,
empathetic and
yeah.
sympathetic lah.
But don't come to us if you are
Situation.
making don't come to us if you are making $35,000 a month, or if your MOP is like
like 2 years later.
2 years later, 3 years later. I think 1 year later is also a bit tough. Maybe
Yeah.
within 6 months lah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe within 6 months we can still discuss and see how we can
Yeah.
we can help you or advise you. Okay. So with all that being said, all the hard sell putting aside, we will go on to the site plan and the floor plan of the area itself, because the show flat is not open yet. It'll be open soon.
Yes, so show flat will be open for previews on 4th July. Do let us know in advance.
So we have all the details. You see, we have been putting the details at the bottom and our contact number. Just reach out to us lah. So this is the site plan for
OTTO Place.
OTTO Place.
Yes.
So one that we can tell, there's a lot of greeneries, which Fei Hua, of course there is lah.
Yeah.
There is 8 blocks and all of them are point blocks.
Yes, so all of them are point blocks, meaning to say you get natural ventilation in the kitchen, you get natural ventilation in all your toilets as well. So OTTO Place, the developers brief, he actually also has a tagline, place for the good life. So for the OTTO Place, we have 8 blocks versus Novo Place 7 blocks. OTTO Place also is taller. So for actually 6 of the blocks, we go up to 20 stories. And then there are 2 other blocks which are slightly shorter at 16 to 18 floors.
Okay. The other thing which I really like about point block, but it's not really being discussed, because when it comes to the resale market, right, the first thing is the corridor bright enough and airy enough? There's a lot of new launches out there nowadays. They have a very long corridor, and it just doesn't feel very well when you have to walk through a very long corridor, and it's sometimes very dim. it adds on to the viewing experience. Like maybe you can't tell from the show flat. Because show flat, you walk in, you only see the unit type, right? You don't see how the facilities are, you don't see the feeling. You enter into a lift, come out from the lift, how it looks. But all this really impacts resale experience. Yeah, which people do not highlight enough. So having a point block is really very important in my own point of view, or at least based on what I like. Okay, and if you can see,
so you actually have like 2 lift shafts serving 4 units for every block. A few of the unique features that I really appreciate about OTTO Place is that you can see from OTTO Place, and if you have been to some of the resale ECs, you'll notice that a lot of the times, right, the resale ECs, they tend to feel very closely packed. You know, whereas for OTTO Place, the blocks are pretty nicely distance between the block to block, and the facilities are also very expensive. So for example, you have swimming pool facing for all 8 blocks, I would say, you know, and then they are basically having swimming pool facing even for block 30, block 28. You also have swimming pool facing for those that are facing the tennis court and all that.
So they guarantee like almost every unit will have.
I would say like 75% of your swimming, your blocks have a swimming pool view. Even the blocks 20, 22, 24, 26, they also have like the water feature in front. If let's say you don't face the swimming pool, you face the water feature. That's right. And on top of that, there's also a linkage. So for 22 to 24, there's actually a sky garden located on level 16 as shown in the site. Yes. So you can have your relaxation and all that on this deck.
And the distance, the widest distance from unit to unit, right, is around 40 meters, which I just saw over here. And if it's not 40 meters, right, it's also at least a good 36 meters for the block to block distance.
And then over here, you also have tennis courts. You know, there's one tennis court. You know, sometimes people say tennis court very important, right? And then we also have a multi-purpose court where you can play pickleball and so on. You know, so then I also want to highlight some of the other features, if you can see from our perspectives, right, is that in this case, because we are somewhat, I would say, somewhat near to the road. All right. But if you can see from our map showing the distance from the road, right, actually very generous. There's about 40 plus meters, 50 plus meters, 60 plus meters from the road. So even this, despite this kind of gap, the developers are also nice to give us free zip lines. So if you can see the site layout, those that are highlighted in red, we have the acoustic zip lines and acoustic ceiling. And then those that are highlighted in brown, we also have the acoustic blind system for these blocks units. So basically you get it for free, you know, which this is not usually what you get from the...
Okay, but all those highlighted in red one, they also have the nicest view because it's really unblocked throughout.
In fact, I see the one highlighted in red, the C3, you know, this is only one out of the 2 stacks that has the unblocked facing view.
Personally for me, you let me choose. I will really choose the D1 and C5 or C2 and C5. For me, personally, what I feel. But I believe developer will also price this as the most expensive one. I'm not very sure because we don't have the price list yet. But personally, I feel the best facing might be over at this area.
Yeah, so speaking of price list, I also just want to highlight that, you know, for EC, you do get the price released by the developers about 2 days before the actual unit picking. So you also don't have that kind of situation where, let's say, if you buy a private resale condo, private condo, new launch condo, and then if the developers see the sales doing very well, then they will have a technical pause to increase the price
by 1-2%, which you will not know.
Yes.
But this is to be fair to you. There's no way the developer can swap the price list out. Everyone will buy at the same price which the developer announced.
That's right. So some of the perspectives you can see we showed to you from the brochures. It's really nicely lit up at night. You can see also the nice block-to-block distance, how the developers have done this as a...
Their clubhouse is elevated.
That's right. So their clubhouse, which is also something developers have wanted us to highlight to our buyers, is that unlike many of the other even private resale condos, they have intentionally done like an elevated clubhouse and ensure that multiple function rooms, multiple dining areas, they have done it in a different kind of setting so that, you know, for the different occasions, you can actually select the correct clubhouse to have the most enjoyment. So you can see in our perspective, like one of the clubhouses is elevated, and then when you stare outside, you are actually seeing the swimming pool. Yeah.
Okay, no west sun, right, for the units.
Most of the units all wouldn't have west sun because they are all north-south facing. So except for there are two special units, if you go back to the site plan, stack 31 and stack 27.
Okay, stack
Right.
31 and stack
Yes.
27.
So these are the two that the developers have intentionally positioned it such that it enjoys more unblocked views and
okay,
swimming
over
pool
here.
view. That's right. So these will be east facing. You do get some morning sun, but you also get very nice swimming pool unblocked view. And the layout for these two units are also different, which we will touch on in a bit. I personally love this layout, and this was also something that the developers have taken in feedback. It's also one of the popular layouts previously.
In Novo Place.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go into the floor plan. So just to take note, OTTO Place is a harmonized project.
That's right.
For those who don't know what is harmonized project, we can just briefly tell you AC ledge are not included in the calculation of your floor plan. So
Exactly.
if they are talking about 904 square feet in the older days in the resale market, it could be almost close to 1,000 square feet. Yeah, just take it as that. Okay?
Yeah. So for the 872 square feet is your typical, let's say,
872.
930 kind of square footage in under the old regime, and then your 904 square feet, you are looking at your typical four-room flat, 969 square feet. It will be pretty similar.
Okay.
Yeah. So for the two layouts over here, the blocks, the stacks have been highlighted as well. Interesting to note for this project, right, as compared to even say Novo Place, if you notice, they have elongated the dining area. You know?
Oh, okay.
So unlike your other floor plans where typically you have your dining area flush towards the wall, where it's a portrait layout, this one they have done it in a longer manner so that you can actually position your dining area in the middle and you have a very comfortable dining space. You know, and then all the units will come with your home shelter. It will also come with the yard area, and you also have the toilet for some of the layouts.
I interject a bit. How do you know the layout or the floor plan is huge, right? Is by looking at all the furniture placement, because this is drawn to scale. Look at all the empty spaces without the furniture, right? All these are your walking spaces, and this is after they put in a 6-seater dining and a 3-seater sofa, right?
That's right. So, and also another thing that's interesting to note, unlike many of the other private housing, if you can see from the floor plans, there are some of the walls that are shaded. There are also some of the walls that are white.
So these are the shaded ones.
Notwithstanding that this project is also built using the PPVC method, but there are some hackable walls. In fact, more than a lot of the others. Some of the projects, they tell you that there's one hackable wall, maybe because it's a partition wall at the study area. But for this one, if you don't need so many bedrooms, later on, let's say in the resale market, a young couple who don't want to have kids, they have the avenue to actually customize how they want maybe a bigger living room, a bigger living space. Like in the case of this, they can actually consider hacking away bedroom trees, walls, so that you have a much larger extended living area as well.
I think one common thing which I see a lot of people doing in HDB is they like, if there's just husband and wife, right? They
will glass partition.
Yeah, glass and make it
Yes.
like two computer. That's the most common setup lah.
Yes.
Do it like a land room.
So you can actually do it in this case. Yeah.
It's still a room itself, but because the glass, it makes the whole place look brighter and bigger. Yeah, so this customization is just something very fun. And you can take note of lah. So coming in the foyer, there's this small private space. Okay, for the 872 square feet lah. It doesn't directly look into, I think for feng shui reason, right? A lot of Chinese, especially Chinese, they don't want to look directly into the balcony. So for 872 and the 904 layout, right? Even the 904, right?
Yeah, it's positioned in such a way where you come in from the side, you know, so you don't see, you see the kitchen, but you don't see straight away the living and dining area. That it offers a lot more privacy.
Okay, but because this is subsidized already, so they don't provide fridge and washer dryer.
Yes, that's right.
So and buy your own. But the space is there for you to fit lah. And it comes with, even the smallest unit comes with a bomb shelter as well. Home
That's
shelter. Acts as your storage. Only thing which for me regarding the 3-bedroom is the kitchen is a bit small, a bit narrow lah. Okay, but I also don't cook lah, so I don't care. I'm just being particular.
Yeah. So if you notice from C1, C2, C2 you will get the additional third toilet at the yard area. So let's say if you have a helper, then this is really very
over
good.
here.
Yeah, you can make use of the home shelter as well as the helpers.
But the room size are all pretty similar,
Yes.
right?
So all the room sizes, the common rooms are about 8.5 square meters, which is very similar to these days your private condos.
So would you say the only difference
well.
for C1 and C2 is the yard area, and there's this
The
small
third toilet.
study area.
Yeah, there's a third toilet and then there's a study area. So the study area, of course, I wouldn't say there's much to shout about, but you can either customize it as a study area
Actually,
or
side check,
shelving area.
I feel like if you do not have a proper study area, right,
You
don't
won't
put
study there.
no, don't put in the description that it's a 3+ study.
Yeah.
Because it's very negative to your unit. People coming, your unit is designed perfectly.
Yeah.
But because of the description you put, then everybody come in and start looking, where's the study, where's the study?
Yes.
Only to see a very disappointing study. You just put it as a 3-bedroom or 3-bedroom premium or 3-bedroom with yard. Maybe it makes more sense. You put it as a 3-bedroom study. This is obviously not a study lah. At least the proper, even the smaller study nowadays, there's aircon and you can put a single bed.
Yeah.
This is just a corner lah. Unless you say,
Study corner, yes.
yeah, why you put a chair here, then people cannot walk already. Like, yeah, this is just me ranting lah. Okay.
The next bedroom type is my top pick, which is what I mentioned earlier. These two are the ones with unblocked view. And why is it my top pick? Because in today's terms, right, you'll be very hard pressed to find this kind of layout. Right, so your bedroom orientation, bedroom sizes, hackable walls, everything remains, you know, and the difference now is that your kitchen is located next to your living area.
Oh.
So your kitchen also has a very nice, door access to the balcony.
Oh, this is very chill.
Yeah, so if let's say you have your dining space put outside, immediately you cook, and then you can bring the food out to the balcony.
This is the one where you're mentioning that you have a full pool view.
Yeah, and you have a full pool view. Imagine,
unblocked, right?
Imagine you're sitting at the balcony and then you're enjoying the full pool view while, having your meals. I think it's really, really something that is very usable space for the balcony. Then at the same time, the dining space, you can then customize it to be used for other purposes, perhaps a study area.
They have a study area here.
Yes. So you can actually have a glass partition to perhaps do it as a study area for the yard,
If they need
the dining area.
I saw this layout in Jayden before, the 3-bedroom. It's really, really very nice.
Yes.
So now no more Jayden show flat, but
A lot of natural light.
yeah, a
coming
lot of
in.
natural light coming in, and your kitchen is by the side. So you see, this is like a dumbbell layout, but with the kitchen on the side, and it opens up to the balcony.
Yeah.
Really makes the place much, much bigger.
Yeah, so another point to note also is that in this kind of layout, right, you'll notice that then the yard area is not together with the kitchen. So, sometimes people will be bothered that, while
cook.
you're cooking and then your clothes are
Cannot
hanging
dry.
as well. So, it's also good in this sense that, now your yard area is away. And you also have the option, let's say you want to turn this into, let's say, a helper's area, you can. Right? And then you can hang your clothes perhaps at the balcony. Really, there's a lot of customization and flexibility in this way. And then your third toilet there also perhaps can act as a secondary guest. So for the other two 3+ study, right? Why I want to highlight these two together is because you can see the characteristics for these two is that the study space is located in the master. So for some of you who may prefer a larger master bedroom, then you can also consider opting for this layout, these two layouts, where I've seen this is one of the show flat models available. I've seen the master bedroom really looking way more spacious. The study space, you can use it as a real study with glass partition, or you can use it as a built-in walk-in wardrobe.
So this is really a proper study. They just leave the space empty for you to configure it yourself lah.
Yeah.
But okay, if you visit the show flat, right, and you see this layout, right, the master bedroom is really
very
huge.
yes.
Huge. Okay, then we move on to the four bedroom.
So we move on to the four bedrooms unit type. There are just two unit types here available. The more luxurious 1195 square feet, and then the entry level 1012 square feet. So for the four bedders, again, you have the fourth bedroom, and the fourth bedroom size is not compromised. It is still at 8.5 square meters. So you can see from the diagrammatic chart below that they have also had many stacks, to cater to the entry level four bedroom types for people who need more space because they have a larger family. So for four bedroom unit type, it is for the master bedroom, for the 1195 square feet, you will have a larger wardrobe space with walk-in wardrobe, right? And then
L-shaped walk-in wardrobe.
And then what is different from the D2 versus the D1 would be the study space. So again, they have positioned it very strategically next to the living area. So if you want, you can partition it out to be the study. If not, then you can actually have just a larger living space in general. So one thing that's different for this 1195 layout, there is no show flat available for OTTO Place, but the developers for Novo Place, being the same developers, they have kept the showroom open, and then to showcase their version of the four
because it's rather similar.
But one of the distinctive difference which they have also taken feedback in is that in that Novo Place layout, the study space does not have the direct access to the balcony. So now they have extended the balcony so that the study space also is accessible to the balcony. So this creates also a very nice, if let's say you're working and you want to take a breather, you can just step out for a while.
So like we mentioned earlier on, entry price for this will be 1.69 million.
Yes.
That's interesting. Okay, but for the 1.69 million, there's one bathroom short lah.
Yes. So as with most of the developments, the private developments today, for the entry level four bedders, typically you will have one common toilet. Of course, you also have the service yard, the WC in the yard area. So that acts as your 2.5 toilets. For the 1195, the more luxurious four bedder, then of course you will have two common toilets. And one of them would be like a junior master style. So it's accessible from the bedroom directly.
Okay, so that's it for all our floor plan. If you do want to see the show flat, they have, I would say, 3 unit types if you include the one at Novo Place, just for your reference. Hit us up, we will show it to you more. And to end off this video, right, these are the 12 benefits of EC ownership. And I think Jason will touch on a few.
Yeah, I think I've covered some earlier already, but just to touch on the rest of the more technical benefits. So you know that ABSD is payable, let's say if we were to buy our second property, right? But in this case, because you are buying an EC, and that of course based on EC regulations, you will need to dispose of the HDB flat. And that's also why in the case of an EC, when you buy, there's actually no ABSD payable upfront, unlike a private condo where you need to pay it upfront and then claim it back later on when you sell off your first property, assuming that you qualify for the ABSD remission for couples.
Okay, so it's quite substantial. We will just take a 2 million property, for example. If you buy a 2 million private new launch or whatsoever, you need to pay, because it's a second property, is 20% upfront.
Assuming that you are Singapore citizens, because if there's a PR, like one spouse is a PR, then it will be 30%.
So 20% is 400,000 on top of the buyer stamp duty you need to pay. So for private, you need to pay upfront, but for EC, you don't need to pay because it's a remission.
That's right. And then And then at the same time also, let's say in comparison to HDB, some of the benefits for EC is we don't need to keep tracking what is the ethnic quota. You know, after MOP, you can sell to anybody basically because it's more or less already semi-privatized, with the caveat that you can only sell to foreigners after 10 years. But I think that restriction hardly makes a difference. You know, so no ethnic quota, and then there's also no clawback of your subsidy recovery. You know, now with the plus prime models in place, you have MOP going up to 10 years, you have the subsidy recovery clawback later on. So the EC, you really avoid all this, and at the same time, it's I think proven track record that the EC capital appreciation, capital growth is much stronger than even the brand new BTOs, I would say.
And you get to stay on in your HDB and only sell it after you get your keys for your EC, and there's no second loan restriction. So you will still be qualified for the full 75% loan.
Right.
As compared to a private, if you go and buy, you're only qualified for 45%.
Yes.
Yeah.
So touching on this 75% loan as well, you know, there's also this particular special thing that EC owners or EC buyers would have that even the private condo buyers won't have, which is the deferred payment scheme. So this actually allows you to only pay for the balance 80% of the purchase price upon key collection. You know, so pay 20% upfront and then nothing to pay all the way until TOP stage. In the meantime, you get to stay in your HDB. Your HDB will still enjoy its price growth over the years. And then when the time comes to sell, then you sell your HDB 2 to 3 years later. And you also then be able to fetch a better price. Of course, caveat is that if you choose the deferred payment scheme, then typically developers will have a 3% additional premium tacked onto that. Then 75% LTV not good enough. With the special bridging loan in place that some of the banks offer, you can even take additional 5% special bridging loan against, let's say if you have currently own a HDB flat, then making the total loan that you take 80%. So why is this significant? Because you'll be then able to utilize your CPF OA fully for the initial 15% down payment. Of course, there's still a mandatory 5% cash.
Okay, but for the layman, they don't understand what Jason just explained, right? Because it also took me some time to understand. If you want us to calculate how much you need upfront, your eligibility, whether you require bridging loan, and how do you continue to stay on in your HDB without selling, or all the other options available, just speak to us. Our number is below. And to end off this video, right, I'll just go back to selling why EC is one of the best products out there. Just look at the price growth comparison over the years between EC and a HDB. I'll leave the chart here for you to see. And EC and a resale condo. And lastly, right, the growing price gap between a new launch in the OCR area and a new launch EC. EC fills the gap perfectly for HDB upgraders because a lot of OCR properties, they are transacting around the 2,000, or I would say it's a bit hard to find 2,000 nowadays, maybe 2,100, 2,200 range. EC come in at 1,700, 1,800. It's really very reasonable, and it's also one of the reasons why OTTO Place is selling so well, because we did up this comparison. If you look at just within the radius, whatever is transacting right for the new launch market, the cheapest is Arden, which is at Teck Whye area, Phoenix Road It's already averagely around 1,800, then followed by Botany, but Botany is already sold out like 1 year plus ago. The one that are currently selling is Lake Garden, Miss, Hill Haven, all upwards of 2,000, 2,001, and Jayden is the most expensive one.
So, like you mentioned, right, because Jayden also, take note, is very near the second CBD, right?
Yes.
So all the more with OTTO Place being very well positioned as well, to be very near to the second CBD, I wouldn't say that OTTO Place, unlike many of the other ECs available, right, it's not located in a very ulu location.
Yes. So, just give example. Highest transacted for Jayden, I think is 2,728. Auto, I think averagely 1,007.
Yeah.
With 1,000 PSF, right, if you buy a 900 square feet unit, right, you save 900,000. I think you can buy a Maserati, Ferrari, and just drive to the second CBD every day.
Yeah.
But anyway, same thing lah. Why Oreo of Tampines is performing so well? Because it's just side by side Park Town.
Yes.
And if you look at the PSF difference, one is transacting 1,007 averagely. The others, Park Town with its own benefits and actually being a mixed D, right? And MRT just downstairs is transacting 2003 to 2005 PSF. And EC just come in and really fills that gap law. So I think that's it for our EC video today. We have shared and highlighted enough. If you have any other questions or you just want to know whether you are eligible or any property related matters, speak to us. Our contact number and details are below. And if you just want to visit the show flat for fun, we can entertain you as well. We can have a discussion on property.
No obligations.
Yeah, no obligations. Maybe just buy coffee for us. Hope you enjoyed the video and hope it's valuable and insightful. And do catch us for our next video.
Thank you. Bye.